we also welcome Rajnikant. Yes, sir. Now it's clear. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, where was I? I was got interrupted.
Yeah, you were talking something about 3 nights, continuous nights you were trying.
Yeah. So what happens is the escape time was midnight, at the stroke of midnight. Okay. So at midnight, I would rattle my cell, and this guard standing outside this room would walk. Now, you have to understand, he would walk directly to my room, and from there, in a triangular march, he'd go to the guard room, get the keys from the guard room, come and open my cell, take me to the bathroom, which was near the guard room to the right. All this, I used to delay it as much as possible. So roughly one toilet visit to pass urine used to be about 5 minutes. And that was more than enough time for them to get through that wall. And Chati, who stayed back, will put the bricks back, stuff it with paper, make dummy human beings in the beds, and he would go back to sleep. So this was repeatedly done. Now I am in the open, and with any noise from there, and if the guard runs there and realizes this is a mass escape, he will first shoot me down. For sure, because an escape has taken place. Yes. He'll say this fellow is a part of the escape, and he probably would have got some award. So I used to be extremely careful to walk as quickly as possible into the toilet, stay there for 5 minutes, come out, walk quickly back, get into my cell. He can't shoot me in my cell, that would be difficult to explain to the international community. So a lot of thought had to go in. And being the youngest and fittest, I was quite happy to volunteer to do this. So, yeah, it was, now I'm laughing, but in hindsight,
you're really great.
In hindsight, it was a tricky thing to do.
No, what was your mindset? What was your feeling at that point of critical juncture?
No, I had no feeling other than joy for these 3 guys to get out.
Great.
Because
sacrifice.
Not only that, Sergeant Rao, you must remember the preamble. We were so upset with the country's politicians.
Yes, sir. Yes,
that we said we will escape and we will prove a point. Because if 3 people escape, that's going to be a news in India. And they will demand that we should be brought back. The opposition, and we were going to appeal. We had all decided that we are going to appeal to whoever's in the opposition. Yes. The Congress doesn't seem to be bothered about us at all. Somebody has to be bothered about us. That should include some leadership by our parents, by people who care for the armed forces, by our own, ostensibly we had we actually had great leaders in the service in those days, great commanders who wouldn't tolerate any nonsense. Once they heard from their boys, they'll put it across to the politicians. Whether they did it or not is then no longer their prerogative, but they will not be hesitant not to speak. They would speak and tell the thing. It's just like Sam Monick telling Mrs. Gandhi, you mind your business, I'll mind mine. So you don't have to worry. I'm not going to take over the country so long as you don't mess around with my army. That's exactly what should be told to a politician by the armed forces.
I agree with you, sir. It is rather so unfortunate on the part of our own leaders to betray our own soldiers who went to sacrifice their life for the sake of country. So they have agreed to give 93,000 people back to them without bargaining for 54 people. It's a silly thing. And that you must have realized what happened when our wing commander Abhinandan was caught, and how swiftly a government took the action, and without going into action, they surrendered. Without declaring war itself, they surrendered. That is the difference between the our government. So what did you feel when you knew about this wing commander Abhinandan story, sir?
I felt like I was back in that same situation.
Sir.
Exactly. The same things happened to me. I also got a ham, but at least he was on TV. Nobody is watching me. In fact, I must mention here, when I got captured, one of the things that saved my life was I mentioned to you that that long ride in the Jeep. And I went to that place where I heard Alpha Bravo Charlie. Without realizing it, they had actually put me on TV. And Amritsar, those days, wealthy Amritsar Punjabis had TV. They used to listen to Pakistan TV. So luckily somebody saw and recognized me, and he relayed to Halwara that, sir, Flying Officer Kuruvilla is alive because I have seen him on TV. So
that's great.
Yeah. So that was another thing that, I forgot to mention, but of course it didn't help in any way in my transition or in my internment, because I didn't know that somebody had seen me, But what I'm trying to say here is, yes, what you emphasized, we were only 616 total prisoners, out of which 12 were from Air Force. 2 of them, we had them repatriated within 2 months. That was Mullah Feroz and later AVM Vikram Petia. All right. Yeah. Mullah Feroz, of course, walked into Pakistan and he was asked not to move, and he moved, and the shoulder shot off. The soldier shot off his tricep. So he had no tricep. So around the 10th or 11th day, I was made his roommate temporarily because he was shouting and creating a nuisance. And he had no tricep. It was an open wound and no dressing, no nothing. They were just putting some bandages and some ointment. And, that was really tough for him. And he was a Parsi on top of that. So poor chap was, it was, he shouldn't have walked into Pakistan in any case. It's a funny story. That's why I'm a bit amused.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, on the 3rd attempt, fortunately, the weather held. And at midnight, I went out and came back, went to sleep, pretended to sleep. We couldn't sleep. All right. Because there was an indication to be given from the other room by Chati, right? Who would just sort of, we could make out, the guard couldn't, right? That is, to the others on either side of me, when the guard is away from there, Chati would indicate that they have gone. So, when this soldier, after locking me up, goes back to that place, we would whisper to each other, okay, they've gone. Now let's get. So we would go get under our blankets. And of course, now very interesting thing happened the next morning. Now, it was a Sunday the next morning. I told you that it was a weekend we planned. And Sunday, as it is, there are no officers. So Sunday, even Warrant Officer Rizvi was missing. And the one guard came and took us for breakfast as usual. We went and had our breakfast. And unlike the normal days, everybody said, we want to go back to our rooms. So, and the guard didn't find it unusual that we are not going to that common room. We are going back to our own rooms. We came back to our room, and then 8 o'clock passed, 9 o'clock passed, 10:30. This guard went to the guard room and said, "Ye log breakfast nahi kha rahe." So Chati pretended to remain asleep.
I see. Okay.
And the guard and the corporal, there was a corporal, I forget his name, very tall Pathan, forgetting his name. Anyway, he came, he opened, "Sir, utho." Chati got up. As the door opened, he walked and quickly came and went into the breakfast room and said, "I want to go to Jaffa's room." And he went to Jaffa's room. So he was lucky because we thought they'll bash him up. And the other 3 were not coming out. So this corporal kept waiting. He didn't want to go inside and wake them up. And after a little while, he found something wrong because Chati was not coming for breakfast, and Chati had gone into Wing Commander Jaffa's room, pretending to massage him because Jaffa had a spinal injury. So he was there, and since since we were all meeting each other, it wasn't even taken as anything unusual. But after a little while, at about 10:30, Corporal walked in and he tried to shake somebody and he found it was a pillow and a human form. And then they discovered that 3 people were missing. Oh, all hell broke loose. He was in a panic. He removed all the 3 and they were not there. And he didn't know there was a hole and he didn't know where the hole was. So he ran and quickly dialed Chaklala. Station commander immediately came after about 45 or 1.5. He came escorted by a whole lot of armed guards and all that. And they went into this room. Then, of course, our team leader was called. He said, today is Sunday, I'm resting. So they went to his cell, and they said, 3 of your boys have escaped. And this is treachery. And all of us, I don't know about the others, I was completely stripped because it became known to them that for 3 consecutive weekends, exactly at midnight, I had gone to the toilet. So they knew I was an accomplice. So I was stripped completely naked. I had nothing, no clothes, nothing. I was only had my toothbrush with me. Everything else was taken out of the room. And I was left there. So I had to, hide in one corner of the room. And we were like that the whole day. Whole day. With no food, no nothing. Everything was stopped. Because the inquiry was ordered. Rezvi was on leave or he was on absent without leave or something. There was a hangama there. And everybody was lined up. And the plain clothes, the spy trackers, airmen in plain clothes, they were left out of it. They were asked to leave. So they vacated their barracks and they were taken somewhere else. So the camp was dwindled down to those main guard room, 3 PNS main guard room, airmen in uniform, and the cells and the guard who was on duty that night. Oh, so immediately an inquiry was ordered, a court of inquiry assembled, and we were all asked questions and all. We said, we don't know anything. The court, of course, said, we expect you to say that. So it was so funny. And nothing was told to us. The inquiry was quickly finished. They realized that they found the hole which was dug and the bricks were neatly kept back and all that. And they realized that there was a great breach of security on the part of the officer and the men of 3 PNSU. So I think Rezvi was court-martialed and lost some seniority. That corporal also, who was on duty, lost seniority. And after 2 days, I got my clothing back. And again, back, we were handcuffed, blindfolded. We were put into a vehicle and we were transferred. We were transferred from Rawalpindi to Lalpur maximum security prison. 8-hour ride on back again. Back again, difficult, unknown days. I thought everything was going to be okay. Now we didn't know where we are going and who we are going to. But we knew that they can't do anything serious with us other than threaten us, frighten us. But anyway, going, with all our bag and baggage, which was nothing but...
Here, when you did not cooperate with the court of inquiry, did they not torture you, sir?
No. You see, court of inquiry, the court of inquiry is supposed to do an inquiry, Mr. Rao, and torture cannot be a part of it because that is going to be shared with the International Committee of the Red Cross.
Okay.
Right? That 3 people escaped. Plus, they don't know where those 3 are. Court also has to take into cognizance what is the outcome of the escape. Have they got into India? They have to conclude.
Yes, sir.
The preliminary inquiry was done. And it was decided that we were to be transferred to a maximum security prison. which we didn't know. We came to know later.
Okay.
Because the very next morning, let me tell you this, by 6:30 they were caught in Peshawar.
Oh, yes.
How they got caught was very, very not difficult to understand at all. You see, the Pakistanis were looking for Bangladeshis who were operating as fifth columnists. And they're all dark like us. And you're in Peshawar, which is, our escape was also to Peshawar. So that we cross into Afghanistan at Landi Kotal. So that was the plan. So I haven't mentioned all that because it becomes a bit too long.
Yes.
After they escaped, we knew from Aurangzeb that the bus stands in the corner of that recruiting office. So they went quietly, jumped into the bus, paid their money, put their heads down, pretended to sleep. The bus was at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. At 12:05, they caught the bus. It was just across the wall. So it was all timed. It was perfect timing. They jumped on, pretended to sleep. Morning, 6 o'clock, they were in Peshawar. They jumped out, and there Dilip Parulkar made a mistake. He went to buy a cap in the souk, underground souk. Now that place was full of these political agents. These political agents were looking for Bangladeshis who were escaping either into Afghanistan, which we didn't know, or they are creating a nuisance, creating fifth columnist operations and all that. So that was the scenario there. So when Dilip Parulkar came out of the souk, one political agent saw one very white fellow, one thin chap, and one dark fellow all together. Two had caps, one didn't have a cap, and one was experimenting with that cap. So he went up to them and he said, "Who are you?" So Dilip and they looked at each other, and Dilip spoke up because he was the guy who made that mistake of going there, and he took the initiative and he spoke up and he said, "We are airmen from Lahore and we are here on a vacation." So he said, "Oh, is that so? Show me your ID cards and all." They showed them, and he was not convinced. So he said, Dilip Parulkar told, now listen to this carefully. Dilip Parulkar said, if you're doubting that we are airmen, please ring up squad leader Osman. He is the air advisor to Pakistan chief. And Pakistan chief is sitting right in Rawalpindi. So the political agent, they knew the game is up. Now then you can't run anywhere because you'll get caught by the mob and the mob will kill you. Correct. So it was a sensible thing that they kept quiet. They didn't surrender. They just said, "Okay, take us to your office. We'll speak to air headquarters." So they took them there. And that fellow said, "You want to speak to air headquarters, squad leader Osman?" "Yes." So he dialed squad leader Osman. Osman came on the line. So this political agent told Osman, "We have got 3 airmen of yours, but they are looking very funny and their ID cards are not standard. So will you talk to them?" So Dilip Parulkar took the phone and he said, "Hello, sir, I'm Dilip Parulkar." So squad leader Osman understood immediately. So he said, "Where are you?" He said, "Sir, we are in Peshawar." So he said, Osman said, "Don't move from there. Don't tell them who you are. Just stay there. I'm coming."
It's a really great thing, sir. Being an enemy officer, supporting our people is really, it's a wonderful thing.
I told you Osman was an intellectual. He was a different man. Sir. Only an intellectual could have been selected by the Pakistan chief to be his own staff officer and advisor.
Of course.
It conveys the sense what I'm trying to tell you, isn't it? Yes. Right at the very beginning, on the first day we met him, we realized he's a different category of officer.
No, had there been some other officer in his place while during in the cell or outside when you talk to them, that is the end of the story, sir, I think.
100%. Because I told you many of the officers who came to see us in traditional clothing, they used to say, "Kafir hai sala, isko maro." Khana kyun khila rahe isko? And they'll abuse and all and go away. Okay. They'll look at us like animals in the zoo.
Yes.
We never used to bother. We used to show high morale.
God is so great that Osman was there for us to support you.
I tell you, really, whatever it is, call it providential or whatever, The man was judicious, number one.
Okay.
He was really an officer because he understood that a prisoner has a place. Not only that, how can he go as staff officer to the chief without realizing that 93,000 prisoners, including Air Force people, are there with us? He'll be a foolish fellow to try and retaliate or tell that political advisor, isko maro, band karke phek do idhar, something to that extent. If it was a mad officer, some other chap, you would have told him, yaar, goli maar do and band karo kahani. Why you want to do inquiry and all? Isko maar do, khatam karo kahani. That's how they operate. They function like that.
Yes, sir.
We were all prepared for that.
Yes.
Even back home, we were prepared that they might stage a shootout and say, oh, 4 escaped, 3 we could not catch.
Very easy to say so.
Very easy. What is the problem? That's an open courtyard with cells.
Yes.
They can just leave the cells open, pull us out, shoot us, and say they try. This is a mass escape and stage a drama. It's a Sunday. They can tell that. They can say the corporal was overpowered and throw the keys somewhere. It can be solid drama. We knew what they're capable of doing. There was no certainty of life at all. I can tell you that.
Yes.
Anything could have happened.
Yes.
From that escape, as we saw with the court of inquiry and subsequent action taken by them, this whole game could have become very ugly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there was no denying. The consequences is what I'm telling you. We were prepared for any consequence.
Of course.
Because we have escaped. That's according to Pakistanis, this is treachery and break of faith. We said, no, this is my duty to escape.
Yeah.
What is why don't you understand? Why can't you understand that I haven't broken your faith or your trust? I am here as a prisoner and it's my duty to escape. That's what the Geneva Convention allows.
Yes.
So there's no question about it. So
great, sir. Great.
We stuck to that. We stuck to that story with the court of inquiry saying we have done nothing wrong. We don't know how they did it. They have gone. It's their lookout. Bus. No talking. Minimal talk.
Yes, sir.
So they wound up the initial court of inquiry and these 3 people were caught. Osman went and put them into a secure vehicle. They were brought back to Rawalpindi to the same place. But we had left. There they had a sort of a court-martial, hurried court-martial. And these 3 officers were sentenced to 1 month solitary confinement.
Okay.
And others were punished. I think Rezvi lost his rank or something like that. And that corporal lost some seniority. And they wound it up very quickly because luckily for them, we hadn't crossed the border. So it was not a great big thing. And they didn't want to make too much of a show of and drama of it because we didn't even read about it in the paper. They hushed it all up.
I see. Okay.
Otherwise, in our papers, they'll say, oh, prisoner, all the Pakistanis who escaped, we knew. Many of them came back to Pakistan. They were assisted in the various mosques. They got a shelter in the mosques.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, yeah. We met some of them. They came back. And they met us. Okay. They said, I was in Meerut or I was in so-and-so place. I escaped. And they came bold. Yeah, they made all the drama to come and tell us that they escaped and that they are all coming back just to bring our morale down. But they could not bring our morale down. Our morale instead our morale went sky high the other way around.
Really great. Really great.
All right. So should we leave it at this for now? We do it another session or?
I think you can sum it up, sir. You can remaining part sum it up and in detail we'll have a second session. You can.
Oh, fine. Yeah. So, okay, I can sum it up at this stage. Actually, you're right. This is the right time to sum it up. So, the court-martial finished everything. Location was changed to Rawalpindi. Now, we were put in the center of a 2.5 square kilometers maximum security prison, which is utilized by the Strategic Forces Group for break-in operations and all that. So they do a lot of, exercises on that maximum security prison. And Air Force, 10 of us were put right in the center. So you can't go anywhere. You don't even know where you are. Anyway, so that was that. and there we remained for another 4 months. So we'll make that part of the story a separate one.
Okay, sir. Okay. Finally, you came back on that interesting story. Even at you last time you were crossing that border also before the close of the gate.
Yeah, we will talk about that. Very interesting, because
yes, we'll have another.
There is an act of God there, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Because there is an act not only of God, there's an act of an understanding of people. See, right now, the political drama that we are facing is that POK is an occupied area. Yes. They actually want to join us.
Okay.
And the Northwest Frontier Province, if you understand what they are all governed by themselves. Pakistan government doesn't govern them.
Okay.
They are governed by chieftains and warlords, and all their territories are clearly marked. Do not enter tribal area. Okay. We have seen all those.
Okay.
Nothing has changed. And in all those places, there are massive gun factories. Massive. I mean, just like if you go to Chandni Chowk, right?
Okay.
Whole rows of gun shops. They manufacture everything from anti-aircraft guns to anything. And Pakistan government has no control, no jurisdiction. They can't even enter those areas.
Okay.
So that's how it is. So that last part of the story has a what should I say, a connotation on understanding the Baluchis, on understanding why they are not really Pakistanis and why they are what they are, why we should help to get them liberated, why we should concentrate on Afghanistan, why we should make Afghanistan people or the government endear themselves to the northeast frontier provinces of Pakistan so that we can spread our influence there. You know,
okay,
they will readily take our influence because they like our culture,
yes,
freedom and democracy, right? We will rein in all that, no doubt.
Okay.
We will shut all their gun shops and all that. But at least they will live a life of dignity, of self-sufficiency, of things they have never heard of. They've never heard of an industry other than gun making.
Yes, that they are being persecuted by this.
Yes. So all this, and what, I mean, the Lahore, Punjab of Pakistan is governing the whole of Pakistan.
Okay.
Only Pak Punjabis rule Pakistan. So that is resented by everybody, including the Sindhis in Karachi. They also want to join India.
I see. Okay, okay.
So basically, what you need to understand, Rao, is if we destabilize Pakistan, it will break up into 4 states.
4, okay.
We don't have to worry at all.
Okay.
We will only have to worry about the Punjab in Pakistan, which is that Lahore region. That will be a lost Punjab of ours. The rest of them will be all independent states.
Okay.
Sindh, Baluchistan, Northeast Frontier Province, they'll all become different states.
Okay.
I mean, this is my reading of understanding of the political setup. And then all the Pakistan occupied people will say, no, we want to join. That will become a very short liberation war. We'll just relieve them when the others break up, which is what I think our government should focus on, is getting, I don't want to bring in politics here, but my understanding is that we must help those who want to join India or those who want freedom, those who want a democratic setup. And I think, you know, by and large, we will have less trouble in our own country if we do that. You know, I don't have to say it.
That is the reason. That is correct, sir.
That is one reason why we should bring harmony on the subcontinent.
Okay.
Because wherever we are, trouble is being created for us through Pakistan, either by the Chinese, earlier by the Sri Lankans, Tamil Tigers. We sorted out all that. But why? We lost so many good soldiers. Some bad decisions of army was not to be sent there. They sent the army thinking that they are Bhaichara. Well, Tamilians are great fighters. We know it in history.
Yes.
You can't fool around with them.
Mhm.
Some of the army's best troops of the erstwhile wars were all Tamilians and Malayalis. The Kalariya Paitam lot. They were all wiry, great soldiers, great fighters.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So history, I mean, this is all there in history. I don't have to, sort of tell you all. You're all my colleagues. Some of you are even older than I am. But but I'm sharing with you what I feel. I feel passionately that, we are being messed around and, being fooled around, and who's suffering? Our people are suffering.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. So
That's it.
thank you, sir. Thank you. It's a great enlightening lesson for me. Even the things I did not know
Right.
got clarified by your interaction. It's really wonderful and really, truly inspiring to including all the people. And yeah, I think if somebody wants to say something like our Vasuki Sharma has come. Is
Yeah.
there,
Anybody, please. I will stop talking in the sense that let somebody else ask me
Anybody-
questions, or anybody wants to speak.
Nagaraj Kumar is there. Whoever wants to speak, they can unmute and speak. Please